Hello, everyone. We have the Timpi team with us today. Great to have you. So, could you please tell us about yourself and how you got involved with decentralized systems? Maybe we can start with Gareth.
Yeah, so I've been working in the um, decentralized crypto space for 3 years now. Um, I came into this space as a result of COVID, like many other people did. I was running a tourism business in New Zealand at the time, and COVID hit and looked for alternatives. So um, I had been investing in crypto for a number of years, and then moved um, into the crypto space from a perspective of my fundamental career, which is in IT consulting, and in particular ERP consulting, which is around how we use technology to support business operations. And so within the blockchain world, I've been doing that for consulting for projects, um, really looking at how we can merge traditional business models into the blockchain world. And that's exactly what we're doing with Timpi. We're taking a traditional product of a search engine, and we've merged that into a decentralized and blockchain platform. So I was very happy when Jörg contacted me. Gosh, it must have been almost over a year ago now, with a
It is
thought
over a
around
year ago.
creating a decentralized search engine. I instantly, understood and saw the benefits of what he was talking about. So perhaps Jörg, I'll hand over to you at that point.
Yes, so how did I get into search engines? Interesting question. My background is information security. So I was always helping businesses with introducing information security management systems into their environment. And with the whole cybersecurity part coming up a little bit more than a decade ago, I went into at some point into the area where I looked into cyber intelligence. So in cybersecurity, you always have the challenge that you don't know what's out there about your business. So I founded the cyber intelligence business Darkscope, and for this business, I had to develop a search engine. So what Darkscope does is it looks for information in cyberspace, including the dark web, for information about the customer, and then it lets the customer know that something is out there. To be able to do that, we had to develop our own search engine, and that sparked the idea of Timpi basically. When I thought about it would be great to have a real alternative to the big guys and to offer something that is not controlled by a board and can show you the real picture of or the real amount of information that is out there. So that was basically the birthplace of Timpi. So that has been a couple of years now. So, and it took a couple of years to, first of all, of course, I concentrated on Darkscope, but second of all, to form the idea. And last year, I know Gareth for several years now. And last year we came together and talked a little bit. And I told him about the idea of Timpi decentralized search engine and so on. So and we combined our resources and knowledge and experience, and that's where we are today. With a great team, and we made a lot of progress, which I was not dreaming about 2 years ago to actually be there.
So, on a high level, how is Timpi different from the search engines that are currently dominating the space?
Yeah,
I'll let you start that one, Jörg.
okay. Um, the decentralization is, of course, the main factor. So our system is the backend is completely decentralized and it is run by the community. That means that we don't have to invest in a data center and to have a huge amount of upfront cost, but it also makes it very well scalable. So that means we can scale in any direction and compete with any other vendor because of the decentralization. Of course, there were a lot of challenges when you go into decentralization that we had to solve, and we developed our own proprietary software for that. But all in all, the approach itself makes us more scalable, but also invulnerable or nearly invulnerable for attacks because of our decentralization. The main differentiation now becomes into the governance and how do we present this information, what we collect from the internet. So Timpi is completely driven by the community, and our governance process is also completely community driven. So we are the first search engine that allows the community to decide on ethical factors of the search algorithm, for example. And that's the really unique part. We do give power back to the people and have a democratic, you can say, search engine that allows to really capture the ethical or the ethics of the community itself, and that drives our search engine. So there's no one from us who can press a button and can say, we will now filter these results or filter those results. We can't do that. That's not part of the algorithm itself. And that was always, when I envisioned Timpi, that was always something that was very important, that we have a complete decentralized, but also a very governed system where we have not a centralized governance, but a decentralized governance.
Yeah, and just to follow on that, what that means for the end user is that we are the only search engine in the world that's able to claim, and we do claim, that we're unbiased and impartial. So we do not have any political agendas or swayed by any corporate advertising partnerships. And that's really key. So there are other search engines out there that are pitching themselves as being for the user and building a search engine that gives users benefits of increased security, for example. DuckDuckGo and Brave are two of those. And for us, this is about having freedom as human beings, right? So we should be able to be free from our data being abused by large corporations. And as I said, like there's other search engines like DuckDuckGo that have got that far and gone, right, we're going to help people protect their security. However, they use Google's index. And so what they're unable to do, and this is really our unique selling point of Timpi, is that they can't take this step further that we've gone and said, right, yes, we care about your security and your data, and they will not be abused. But in addition to that, we will also give you unbiased and impartial data. And we evidence that through our, as Jörg said, through our governing system. And we're the only people in the world who can do that. And we can do that because we've got our own index and we're building our own index. We're currently indexing or analyzing, should I say, around 200 million pages a day. I'm sure Jörg will correct me if I've got my numbers wrong. I know it varies and it keeps on increasing. What number are we at right now, Jörg?
280 million pages per day in our beta program right now.
Right, 280. Great. It seems to be increasing by tens of millions per day. The performance of which we're staggered by ourselves. I'm sure we can deep dive into the technical parts more later. But we are one of only 5 indexes that's being maintained in the world currently. So when we look at the market and the uniqueness of our product, we feel that we're in a really special place to be able to offer a unique offering in this huge market with very few players.
You're running a beta program right now, meaning that the platform is live, but it's not publicly accessible. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, cool. Do you have like a rough timeline of when this is going to be open to the public? I know it's tough with software projects, but like a rough indication. Are we talking weeks, months, years?
Yeah. So we do have a clear roadmap on what it is we do next and so on. So the beta program what we have is already public. So it's a public beta program. However, it comes with application. So we have a limited amount of slots available right now for the beta program. So people from our Discord community have applied for being able to run the Guardian or the Collector. So it's not a closed beta behind doors. It's a public beta. Normal people already run our software. However, the number of people is just restricted because of the beta program. We have at this stage, we're looking into releasing the first beta of our web search by end of this year. That is again also a public beta, but you have to get in with an application because it's limited in terms of slots again. So we can run our beta program and we get improvements, feedbacks, and stuff like that. So, but that's the first access to our web search engine will be by end of this year. We are planning to go completely live in the first quarter of next year for the public. So that will be an open public beta. So we will still be in the beta stage, but then there are no limitations anymore. And then we will see how feedback comes and what the feedback says and the software itself. So we are planning to be completely live with a release version at some point mid next year.
What's the revenue model? So I understand that there's a token involved. So unless this is the cornerstone of it, maybe we can pause that for a moment. But can you explain how the system is ultimately going to be sustained?
Yeah, so our revenue model is based upon advertising and also API licenses as well. So the advertising is broken down into two main areas. One, which is in search results advertising, and the second is web page advertising. The same as this, very similar to the way Google does it. So, but the difference here is that we're the user focused. We care about the security of your data, and we don't want to create an interface where we're abusing your the retail space on the search page. So we're not going to be placing any adverts in line with the search results. It's going to be very, very clear what's advertising and what isn't advertising. So advertising is going to be over to the right-hand side, and the search results are going to be just purely search results. And we've got some really cool stuff going on with the actual advertising functions as well, which we hope people will be excited about when we launch. So the revenue is coming from advertising predominantly. As I said, we also have the API access that people can subscribe to, so that other search engines will be able to use our index in the same way that they currently use Google's and Bing index. They'll also be able to use ours now as well. The revenue then is shared through the token back to people who are providing our infrastructure. So we have the collectors, guardians, and GeoCore nodes that are being run by our community. And for a reward for them providing that compute power to us, they get a share of that revenue from advertising. So that's really the utility of the token, which is linked to our revenue model. And there's some staking mixed in with that as well.
Okay, so I also understand that you guys are partly building on Kadena, and I think the token is running on there. Is there any other relation to this blockchain, or is it mostly running your reward system and smart contracts and all that?
Yeah, it's purely the reward system, and we are a multi-chain project, and so we will be on other chains as well. Beyond Kadena and obviously our own chain, Timpi chain. So, but we started off with Kadena. We were very aware of the community there, We've been involved in Kadena as investors for before Timpi came around. And so we knew that that's where we wanted to start to support the Kadena network.
Cool. All right. Now, we obviously have to talk a bit about competition, right? So this jumps in everybody's face, right? Of course, there's always an argument to be made that, and you said it earlier as well, that the degree of dominance of the big players is quite high, to put it mildly.
You can say that.
Yeah, and maybe before we start talking about how the interplay works with those, I wanted to ask what gives you the confidence that lots of people will be using Timpi over other systems, just from a searcher's standpoint.
So there's a growing trend of users moving away from Google currently. If we look at Google's market share, that's been decreasing year on year over the past 5 years, maybe even longer than that, but certainly getting more traction over the last years with the likes of DuckDuckGo and Brave coming into this space and offering a product with a service that people really care about, and that's security of their data. So we already see this trend towards the products that who do care about the end user in terms of their data. Obviously, we're taking that one step further as well with that unbiased and impartial data that we're providing. And I think this is one of the really key points here is that we don't necessarily see ourselves, however, competing with DuckDuckGo or Brave, because we're actually all working together in a common goal to make this space better for the end user. The market is an incredibly unique one where, as you said, it's completely dominated by Google, who own 93% of the market. And not only that, but there's very few players in the market. As I said, only 5 indexes that are actively maintained. And beyond that, there's smaller players in the search engine market that use those indexes. The other thing that's happening is that we've got the users who are being more aware of their security and their data. And in addition to that, we've also got the government becoming very aware of the monopoly and dominance that Google has. So they're actually looking at implementing laws and regulations to stop Google having that dominance. So we find ourselves in a very unique time and unique moment where we've got huge social awareness around privacy and security and the data that's being presented to us by big tech. And at the same time, the government are looking at implementing legislation so that these big tech companies can't have control over what we're doing. So we see these two forces coming together, which will really help Timpi push our product forward. Now, as I said earlier, we're in a unique position. We've got our own index. We can actually provide unbiased and impartial data, and that's kind of our core value proposition. But in addition to that, we aren't forgetting the fundamentals, because we actually know a lot of people may not care about their privacy that much or even understand it yet. And so what we're building is a product which stands on itself, regardless of our unique selling points around data and unbiased data and impartial data privacy. And so we've spent a lot of time on the user experience, and I feel that actually we've come up with a search engine design that's a game changer for the market in itself. And this is something we don't talk about or haven't really spoken about yet, because we're pushing our unique selling point of unbiased data. But again, even if we didn't have that, our user experience, I believe, is best in market.
Is the code of the search algorithm going to be open source?
Yes, the parts of the solution will be open source. Yes.
Okay. So wouldn't it be possible to then reverse engineer the search algorithm and basically trigger a race to the bottom, like in terms of SEO? So, I mean,
No.
one or for those of you
No,
who are not
because
inclined.
yeah. So we were not the entire search algorithm will be open, and we only so what we do is basically we do publish and that's already known in our white paper, publish some of the parameters that drive our search algorithm, and that's the parameters the community needs to can decide on, or we can work, or they can basically work with us on these parameters. But it is not the entire search algorithm that allows then someone to SEO and back reverse engineer and see how they can manipulate the algorithm. That's not how far it goes.
Okay, so
We did,
the
sorry.
yeah, so the point is really to work on the parameters, as you were saying, and not basically have it be as a DeFi protocol where you want to be able to see every single
Yeah.
detail, like how it's going to get executed. Okay,
Yes,
understood.
because then you run the risk of having reverse engineered and then manipulated search results because of that. Yeah.
Okay.
Just I'd like to add something around where we're talking around the competition. I think if you ask us the question how we compared to other players in the market, like we will tell you the differences between them and us, but that doesn't mean we're competing with them. You know, this market again is incredibly obscure one where we've got it completely dominated by one player, 93% of the market. Now, what that means in terms of numbers, and the total market size is around $1.3 trillion. Now, that includes other search engines in terms like Yahoo and Facebook, for example. But if we purely look at the revenue of the market, last year we were around $200 billion. And so this is why players are getting traction in the market, because you only need a very small percentage of that market to be having a very serious source of revenue. We're talking around 0.05% equates to around $2 billion revenue. So absolutely crazy numbers. And so this is why when we say, look, there's other players in the market there, but we're not in a position where we're saying, let's compete with them. Let's all change this market together and take a small or a larger slice of what the monopoly that is Google has today.
Yeah. I think Google would like to us to fight against all the smaller guys, and everyone fights each other and so on. I see it a different way. I would like to actually work with them together to just, scoop another percentage of Google. Hey, why not?
Yeah. And we would actually love to support the other search engines out there who are using Google's index. They should be using our index because it fits their brand better. And really, there's no reason why, when we're at a stage that we can compete with the size and quality of Google's index, but I think will be a lot quicker than people realize, then there'll be no reason why they shouldn't use our API layer instead of Google's. Like we'd love to be in a position where we can partner with these other search engines and actually support their growth as well.
Do you expect the API layer to possibly become bigger than the ad layer in terms of revenue split?
Possibly. Yeah. That's it is possible. It really we need to see how the market will develop, but we do have already a lot of ideas for the records itself, the data sets, when it comes to how we can work with these data sets with using APIs, but also using other mechanisms as well. as well. Yeah.
Certainly a huge area for revenue growth. As I said, one of 5 in the world. These indexes are something everyone in the whole world uses, and yet there's only 5 of them. Imagine if there was only 5 breakfast cereals in the whole world,
It
like
would be great.
something we consume on a daily basis. There's not. There's probably tens of thousands of different brands out there across the globe, and yet something that everybody uses every single day. There's only 5 players in the market. It's insane.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Honestly, I don't know enough about search engines to really assess why this is, but I would assume that it's because of the effort that's required to actually build up such an index. Is that
Yeah.
true?
Yes, yes. So you, in order for you to build an index, you're looking at around an index like Google size. You're looking at around 15,000, 20,000 computer systems just for the indexing itself. So for the creating the index, and then you have thousands of computers to basically allow the search engine in the scale. So if you do it in a decentralized way, and if you have to buy or to pay for any of those systems, it is a lot of upfront cost, which is very, very expensive. And that's why no one is actually. I mean, there were some attempts, and there are smaller projects that tried to create their own index, but that was always the centralized way. So they tried to get revenue in before they have an index. So in order to create an index, you need a lot of money, but in order to make money, you actually need an index. So that's where it comes from, and that's where it's really expensive and really hard to do. The decentralized way, of course, opens up the opportunity for having a large index before we go into revenue, because in combining that with blockchain and crypto and our own token, we can distribute tokens before we go into revenue. So that's a way how we can balance it out, and that makes it more viable for us.
All right,
I
cool.
guess it's not only the infrastructure and also the cost of that infrastructure, but also the technical expertise is a huge knowledge barrier to entry as well. Now we've got Jörg here, who's this isn't his first time building a search engine. He's built and been developing, maintaining a search engine that operates today around on the dark web for the cybersecurity arm that he works for. So this isn't the first rodeo for Jörg in building a search engine. So we've got the technical ability and the infrastructure through the decentralization to really remove those barriers to entry to this market.
Yeah, but we also have a great team, so it's not just me. It's not a one man band. So we have on the development side, we have a great team. We have on all our areas of our business. We were just lucky enough to attract, and that's it is maybe because of the topic and maybe because of what Timpi represents, but we were able to really get a team together from experts from all kinds of areas of business, and that normally we wouldn't be able to actually do that unless it is really about what Timpi is all about. So most team members of us really like the idea, love the idea of Timpi, and want to bring the idea to life, and that's why they joined Timpi in the first place. And it's not that's a huge experience also for me personally, that we have team members that really stand behind the idea of Timpi and the ethics.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed, and I mean you can check on the website obviously, but there's quite a larger community also around your project, right? Which is
Yeah.
great to see. Yeah. Now, before we close it off, wanted to get a little bit into an outlook. So maybe some visionary ideas. Could you paint a picture of how an end game could look like? So maybe in 10, 20 years.
Okay.
I'll let you start, Jörg, and then I'll add some bits in.
Okay, I will start. I think Timpi will not just be a search engine. and that will happen very soon. That doesn't take 10 or 20 years. But Timpi will extend its services to reflect and to get the democratization and the decentralized approach in other services. If you look at other businesses in this industry that started off as a search engine, they have a lot of other areas now as well where they provide services to. And I see the same with Timpi. Whether is it something we do ourselves or we start creating an ecosystem where like-minded projects can join our movement, you can say, and can also leverage our experience we now make, so they can implement their solution maybe a little bit quicker in our ecosystem. That's something I would probably foresee. So where are we in 10 to 20 years? I think we took a decent chunk of the market share. We run the largest index and the most accurate index. It's not only about the size of the index, but also the accuracy and also the how often do we refresh the index. So I would envision with the decentralized network that we have available that we run the most comprehensive index size, and then yeah, show people what's actually out there.
I think one of the interesting prospects for Timpi is that we are not going to be restricted in where we place our infrastructure. So for a centralized operation, for example, if they want to have data centers in China or Russia, then they've got to coordinate with the government and the regulations there. And as we know, then this pushes the centralized search engines to a space where they almost have to be swayed and biased according to those agendas of those particular countries. We're not going to be in that position because our technology is decentralized, and actually, to a certain extent, we're not actually going to know where these the guardians and the collectors are being placed. So we will have infrastructure in China, and we will have infrastructure in Russia, which means that the people in those countries will be able to access our index. Now, there's some other challenges around that, technical challenges around and doing that, but we certainly aspire to be unbiased, impartial, and accessible to everyone in the world, regardless of any political or political barriers. And then, so that's where I think we're moving towards in terms of reach and how we become a global force in the search engine market. As Jörg said, the second is actually building out our services and the scope of those services. Very similar to a way that Google has, they use their index as a springboard to email storage, for example, and even social elements as well. And we'll do the same. And that's really one of the core reasons of why we wanted to have our own chain, so that we could actually support that ecosystem instead of us building it all. We don't need to build it all. We don't need to have complete control over everything within that ecosystem. We want to work with people who are like-minded and have the same mission as us, because we believe if we can all pull together and work together, then we're going to be far more effective in delivering ultimately what our mission is, which is to provide unbiased data to the world.
Man, that's almost a biblical statement. That's great. Now, maybe coming a bit closer to the present now. So you already talked about your release schedule, but can you speak quickly on the most important milestones that are coming up relatively soon?
Yeah, I can maybe start on the technology side. So we just released our tab. That's our own protocol for the decentralized network. That's a very cool protocol that allows us to autonomously have or to have an autonomous network that grows, heals, and controls itself. So our decentralized network has now centralized piece in there that controls everything. So that's all done using our own proprietary protocol. It's called TAP. It's based on the Gossip protocol principles, but we just added a lot of functionality to that. We are in the middle of starting the Guardian beta program. So we have been running the collector beta program for a couple of weeks now. We are now going into the phase where we start our Guardian. That's our storage node. And the next step would then be releasing the first view of our search web page. And we get feedback from there, and then starting our beta program for the search web page itself that allows us to get just feedback and how's the look and feel, how's the functionality and stuff like that. So that's, I think, very exciting time. The beta program we will run now, I think in 2 weeks time, we will run a high performance test. So all contributors can then hit us with whatever they got in terms of collector and computer performance, and just to see if how our network reacts to a high load and how does it balance it out automatically and stuff like that. So that's on the technology side.
Yeah, and really, I guess the only thing to add to that is our second round of the IDO. That's what people are waiting for currently. We're committing to Q4, and that's really all I can give you on that at the moment. But watch this space, join our socials, and we'll update everyone as soon as we can give some solid dates.
One thing that's missing:
the second
our
round
blockchain.
will be coming soon.
Our blockchain. We do, of course, also have our own blockchain in development right now. Looking into joining testnet or going on to testnet very soon. We started, so we do have our first phase of the blockchain is done. So our basic blockchain, everything is done, it's working, has been tested. Now we have the custom modules in development. That's our governance module, for example, that needs to be developed in-house. So that's what we do now, the customized module development for our Cosmos blockchain. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So first of all, thanks a lot for all these insights. So it certainly helped me understand the project a lot better. Yeah, is there anything you would like to address that we haven't talked about?
No, I think not that I can think of. Gareth, you have anything?
No, I think it's been great to have a talk with you, and thank you for asking all those pertinent questions. It gives us the opportunity to talk about Timpi, which we love to do. We're very passionate about what we're doing here, and yeah, just for anyone watching this, please jump onto Timpi.com, and you'll see information about what we're doing here in this space. Join our social channels and keep up to date with our launch plans.
Yeah, fantastic. All right. Yeah, thanks again. And yeah, all the best to both of you and your team.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.